Good morning. This is the Innovation Conversation. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Nice. Good to see you as
So,
well.
yesterday, the story broke. We did a special alert from Morning Newsbeat about how basically Amazon is walking away from just walkout technology when it comes to Amazon Fresh stores. And actually, more of those stores had it than I even knew. Um, and while they're still going to have it in Amazon Go stores, it's hard to know what the future of that format is. Um, and they're ready to start rolling out this version 2 of Amazon Fresh. And I just wanted to get, I mean, I commented a lot on it yesterday. Um, you know, I remain skeptical. Um, but what do you think? What do you think about? I mean, the decision seemed like a good one if it wasn't working in the bigger stores.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think that they've given up on just walkout technology generally. I think that there are formats that it makes sense in. There are some formats that it's not yet making full sense in, but I don't think they give up on that. But they probably say, do we really need to make this level of investment in our own stores now? While we're also at the same time trying to figure out the right format of the store. Right. I was always a little worried about the commingling of the just walk out R&D with the store format R&D.
Right.
I think in a convenience, the very nature of a convenience store where you're in and out quickly, time, you're in a convenience store, you can spend more time at the front end than you did, well, usually would spend more time at the front end than you did actually picking out the products, right?
Right.
That you're buying. So in that format, it makes a ton of sense, to eliminate that friction, which is a significant part of the trip. In a larger store format where your mix of shopping time and front end time is different, you know, I don't know that I would tie that, to the success of the store. There's so much more to figure out in getting the store formula right.
Right.
And but I do think that, and we know we did read in that too, that in the article that the Just Walk Out tech team moved out of the stores team and into AWS, which does make sense because AWS is spending a lot of time building capabilities for other retailers. Stores are figuring out how to build their own stores. It's hard to do both.
Right.
And so I think it makes, total sense for them to separate that. And from a store, I mean, I'm not going to go into the discussion of the store format yet. I'm going to give you a chance to chime in also. But I mean, the whole yeah, I think they still have a lot of work to do in getting their store format right.
Well, and it was interesting, and I thought this was the and I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but the fellow from AWS who was at the NGA technology tracks that we did, and I thought it was really interesting when he talked about you have to think about, I mean, because one of the things they're doing is they're saying we're not going to focus on just walkout technology and Amazon Fresh Starts, we're going to use dash carts. And he said you have to think about these smart carts as basically rolling self-checkouts. You don't compare them to a traditional shopping cart, especially when you're thinking about how much money you're investing. You
Mhm.
think of these things as being self-checkouts, and then the numbers start to look a lot more favorable. And I'm not sure that just walk out and dash carts, it's hard to imagine. It's a little jarring to think of them operating in the same space, right? You have one or you have the other.
They
But
do seem duplicative
yeah,
in the value proposition. I do like I think that the idea of thinking of it as a self checkout though is a good way to think about it. And I don't know that I would have naturally thought about that
I
first.
have,
You think about speed, you think about retail media
right,
opportunities and that. But I was speaking yesterday to a grocery CEO who is experimenting with one of the providers' carts
right.
in their stores, and he said the biggest positive feedback they get from customers is that they like the fact that it keeps the running total for them and that it helps them hit their budget.
Right.
And he said that actually what they're finding is that those customers actually do end up spending more in the trip because they have the confidence,
Right.
to push up against their budget. Where when it's unknown, you may aim shorter of your budget to be conservative. So I thought that was
And,
pretty interesting.
And you can make decisions about, okay, I'm going to go over my budget on this item, but there's imputed value there as a put, which is different than price.
Right.
And so you think about it somewhat. You can think about it differently. You can make those decisions in a more informed way.
Absolutely. But you're still, I don't, what is the like max penetration, or usage rate that those carts could get, right? Of shoppers that are shopping a store, right?
Right.
Are you talking about like 20% usage is high? Are you talking about, is it half? Is it 2/3, 3/4 of your customers? Like, what level of, of usage do you get out of those? I can't imagine it's crazy high. I mean, if that was the only cart that was available, it would be high.
Right.
But the
But that,
asset cost on those tends to be a little steep, and so I don't know, that stores would be able to have all of their, maybe they would be able to have all their carts be that.
well, I mean, and I think this came out in the Acosta study that we released at NGA. Was listen, there's a percentage, I forget what the number was now, but there's a percentage of people who don't want to use it.
Yeah,
Right? They
yeah,
want to walk in, get a regular shopping cart, put stuff in the cart, go to a checkout person. They want to have the traditional
and that
experience.
was a relatively high percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, it
And
wasn't half, but it was. I feel like it was like way upper, double digits to
well, let's
almost half.
say let's say it's 40%. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I think it is something like that.
and so, but that still leaves you with 60% who are open to the experience.
Yeah,
And as I joked, I think at NGA, and the 40% is going to die off. Right. So the number is going to grow. And at the same time, what's going to happen is that the people are going to, as more people use it, it's going to become more, more acceptable. I mean, people,
absolutely.
because somebody's going to say, oh, this is really cool. You should try this.
Well, if there's a meaningful portion of your customer base that appreciates this technology and it helps them shop better, helps
Yeah.
them manage their budget better, like if you are truly customer centric, you're going to figure out a way to provide that to them,
Right.
in a way that, is strikes the right, formula for you with your economics of cost to serve,
Yeah.
and ultimately, the yield off of that customer.
That said, I still believe, and I know I'm sort of rabid on this subject, that a large percentage of the reason that they're moving away from just walk out technology beyond the technological challenges is that carts give them a chance to sell retail media, and it becomes a revenue stream, and it's all, a lot of it's going to be about having as many ads on those damn carts as people can stomach. And I like the carts, by the way. I've used them. I think they're terrific. But if I got to watch a commercial, I mean, we had the story yesterday about Walmart, basically they're going to everybody. What do they call, what was the phrase? Non-endemic vendors?
Yeah,
It was like basically saying, we're going to sell ads to people who have
we're going
nothing
to create
with our,
noise that's irrelevant to your shopping trip.
and this stuff, can I say, it makes me batshit. Am I allowed to say that? I'm gonna go there. I've been doing this more than 22 years. I'm gonna
You have
say
to
it.
put a warning in the headline above this.
Now,
Might not be safe at
YouTube,
whatever our time on
I'll
the.
block it out if YouTube stops me. Um, but I think it just makes me crazy because it just seems to me that this is what everybody is aiming for. Everybody who talks about this talks about the ads and the revenue, and that's what makes me worry a little bit about the strategy. And the other piece of it, and this is where we should, and you can address that if you want to, cursing or not. But the other thing is that the other thing that concerns me about this is they talk about how Tony Hoggett, who's running the grocery stores division for Amazon, version 2, man, these are going to be differentiated because we're going to have Krispy Kreme donuts and coffee. And it's like, on what planet right now is that differentiated?
Yeah.
McDonald's every McDonald's in the country is gonna have Krispy Kreme donuts. And if these guys never heard of Starbucks, I mean, plus all the local competitors in all these markets, I just don't get it. I mean,
Well, where to
by the
start?
way,
I could go on the retail media tirade for a while as well, but I'll leave that for another time. But
one tirade per innovation
at the
conference.
risk of sounding like two grumpy old men, I do think that there's a whole lot of good and potentially, potential good in retail media done well. It can actually help the customer. It can actually be great for the brand. It can actually be good for the retailer. But I think we're already looking past that and just we're getting ready to crush our customers with retail media because it's good for the bottom line in the near term. Entire other discussion. From a store standpoint, I come from a store background. Obviously, I come from an Amazon background as well. Um, I don't see, I think the formula that they have now is better than it was. But I also don't think that, offering some kind of softened colors in the store with some wood tones and, adding the Krispy Kreme kiosk with coffee. Yes, better than it was. But I just don't see how that becomes a format that draws in the masses, right? I don't see that. You look at what they're doing in their world with the Whole Foods Daily Shop concept.
Right.
That to me is a format that's incredibly well conceived, right? It is solving, if done right, it's solving a very clear need. And if done with the typical kind of flair and commitment to freshness and quality that you get from Whole Foods, it should be a pretty compelling format, right? So it's setting up well. I don't know what the Amazon Fresh store does, to be that compelling, right? It has to, if you're going to draw significant customers into that format, that by the way, you're drawing away from your competitors, right? Because right now, whatever need you're serving, they're serving elsewhere.
Right.
Right? If you're going to pull customers in there from competitors, you better have something compelling, right? So it either has to be amazing utility, right? It's going to have what I want, great price, good format in and out, solves a real need better than a conventional format might. Or it better have, something that, gets you excited. Be it true freshness, be it energy, be it some solutions that it's providing you. It really needs to be stood out and differentiating.
Yeah.
And I just worry that the two stores that they have are not delivering on that. Now that said, let's see what they roll out. Let's see how they evolve them.
Right.
I am a big believer that Amazon should continue to work to get the format right. I know you felt that maybe they're better off, just focusing on offering tech to other retailers, which I think is a key part of the model as well. But I think that, getting the store format right and owning that piece of delivering on that piece of value to your customers, can be a big unlock for them. And I wouldn't give up on getting it right yet. I just think they've gotten it so wrong that, there's still a great opportunity to get it right.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm not saying they should do it. I just think that's what they will do at some point,
Right.
because I think they're just going to get tired of the money suck. I think that, see, and to go back on your point, you say the four words Whole Foods and Daily Shop, and you know exactly what it is, right? And it is clear, it is specific. If they meet the basic standard of what Whole Foods delivers on in their bigger stores, these things can be a home run. Now, they start selling Diet Coke, they're going to have a problem, right? But as long as they do the Whole Foods thing and they do it effectively, I totally understand that format. Amazon Fresh, on the other hand, was never particularly fresh, right? I mean, the fresh product they had was kind of crappy. The produce departments didn't look particularly good. Now, that wasn't always the case in every store, but I never
And
saw.
the good old days of Amazon Fresh, back in the day,
Oh, back in the day,
we crushed it on quality. We were so
totally.
good.
because that was a priority.
It
And
was.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's the same priority right now.
No.
And
Yeah.
listen, to be fair to Amazon, to be fair to Hoggett, who I've never met,
Oh yeah.
we only know what we know, right? So
100%.
they're right now, for whatever reason, they're leading with Krispy Kreme and coffee.
Yeah.
And they may have 6 other things in their pocket that they're going to put in there that could.
And I'm sure, I would hope that they do. And I would definitely expect that they do.
Yeah. I would hope that they do. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure.
I
It's
know.
just not there. I mean, because they haven't demonstrated it. They haven't, and while Hoggett was not involved with, he's a Tesco guy.
Mhm.
He was not involved with Fresh and Easy. And he's got a little bit, he's a Tesco guy. So he's got a little bit of that Fresh and Easy arrogance, perhaps,
Yeah,
coursing through his DNA. And maybe that's unfair. But I just think that, but you can't help but think
yeah,
because sometimes it just feels like Fresh and Easy. It feels,
yeah. I hear you,
you
and
know,
yeah, I don't know what role Tony would have played relative to Fresh
nothing.
and
I
Easy.
mean, in fact, I've numerous times because I just always want to double check myself. He was everywhere for Tesco except the US
All right,
when you
well,
look at his resume.
yeah,
So
that's
uh,
impressive.
good for him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for Amazon. I think a better Amazon makes the industry better.
Right.
So I think it's a huge win for customers if Amazon starts to make good progress with this format. Like I said, I'm really rooting for them
Yeah.
to do
You
so.
can win for customers if they put customers first. But if the bottom line
Exactly.
on this thing is revenue, or alternative sources of revenue, then they're going to have the wrong priority, and customers won't come in, which will make it a money suck as opposed to a revenue generator. Because by the way, your advertising rates are key to how many people actually see the things.
Yeah.
They'll be out of this stuff. Because listen, they talk about this being version 2. I don't think I don't think they have the stomach for a version 3 unless version 2 gets it, let's say 75-80% right.
Yeah, they would have to show progress on version 2 without going crazy overboard and overbuilding,
Right.
something that is not quite right yet. And,
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, I know they said they're going to kind of get back into opening them. And, I think that the aspirations they had about the brick and mortar expansion back kind of going into COVID, that was significant.
Right.
But I think that was relatively, it wasn't based on, they didn't have the format right yet.
Yeah.
And I think, they're gonna strike a better balance now of getting the format right with the level with the level of deployment of these
Yeah.
things.
And the interesting thing is, I mean, listen, it's easy for me to sit in my chair, never having run a store or a company, to howl at the moon about this stuff. It's hard. It's really, really hard for an e-commerce company to do brick and mortar. Amazon
Absolutely.
demonstrated that, right? It got out of books, it got out of fashion, it got out, it's
Yeah.
really hard. Even
Yes.
even when you bring in people from the outside who are experts, if the culture, it may have all these antibodies that are just that are fighting against what is in the core DNA of the company, which is e-commerce,
Yeah.
right?
It
And
is.
I think we saw some of the same thing in the opposite direction, perhaps, with Kroger's announcement that it's basically going to pull back on some of the investments it was making in pure play e-grocery in markets where it did not have physical stores.
Yeah.
There's still some of that out there, but this was, and this is one of those cases. I mean, I thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was ballsy for them to say, "Hey,
Absolutely.
listen, we don't have stores, but we're gonna try to have an e-commerce
Yeah.
business and see if it
Yeah.
works." It
Uh,
clearly didn't work, but it's a
well, yeah. I mean, I agree, and I don't think they're completely out of that strategy, right? I
no,
mean, I think that they're making bets. They're willing to adjust those bets as they go. They should be applauded for that. Like, this is a great example of leaning in, going somewhere uncomfortable, giving it a real shot, and then tuning as you go.
yeah.
Like, that takes guts, and I applaud them for that.
Yeah. It also may not be the best look as you're dealing with the FTC that's trying to block your merger with Albertsons to be opening e-commerce businesses in places where you don't even have stores. I mean, maybe that I wonder, I mean, and maybe I'm overanalyzing.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, they are competing with non-traditional players like Amazon, that is a pure play,
Right.
well, not pure play, but largely vast majority of the business e-com player. And so you got to build some of those chops if you're going to compete against those guys. So, merger, no merger, challenge, no challenge. Again, I applaud them for trying to do what's right for their
Yeah.
customers and trying to do what's right for their business.
Well, it's interesting. And I just thought of this. So the two of the competitors that they were working against, who they now won't have to work against to the same extent with this pure play model, were HEB and Publix,
Right.
two companies that have um, um, some of the most devoted customers in the country.
Absolutely.
This would be, and it's interesting. I thought about these terms. I mean, Kroger had talked about going into the northeastern United States where they don't have stores
Hmm.
with the same kind of model. They have not moved on that, and I would suggest to them that this is a case where they don't want to go any place where they would be competing with Wegmans, right? Why would you? Yeah, you don't have stores, but don't go fight the giant that you're
You've
never
got to
gonna.
do something better than them, right? I
Right,
mean, you have to deliver on something to their customers that you want to make your customers better than they're doing.
right,
Just to go in and try to nibble a little share away, that's not going to do anything. You gotta go in with a purpose.
right,
And, I think heck in Texas, I mean, not only is HEB a great store, they're a really good ecom player too.
right,
Publix, I would say really good store, meh, in ecom.
right.
Maybe not as important to their customers yet,
Yeah,
but ultimately will be.
but because they're dying off. No, I'm just kidding. um, but what you just said actually applies to the Amazon Fresh thing, right? Which is
100%.
you got to have stores where you do something better than right than the competition is doing. And if all you're
If it's
trying to
not better, you're not going to win enough volume.
And if you're trying to nibble away and grab a little market share here, a little market share there, it doesn't make sense, and it's not going to work. And
Right.
what we still have to see from Amazon Fresh is, have they come up with that something better?
Absolutely.
So anyway, all right. Well, let's see. I ranted. I had a tirade. I cursed once, sort of. I don't even know if that counts as a curse anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we got that off our chest. I will see you in 2 weeks.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Have a good one, everyone.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye.